not on planet Earth right now. The world isn't supposed to look like this.
Maybe there's something going on here that we don't understand fully yet.
All these quests are like proving to myself that if I really want something, I can push my physical to places I never thought I could go.
To be honest, there aren't many scientists that do what we do.
I photographed this migration to inspire people to care about it.
Yeah, sure. It's quite possible the storm could produce a tornado.
We're almost trying to do the impossible out here.
Are we ready? Stop! Snake! Go! Go!
Yeah, it gets kind of creepy out here. When it gets dark. I don't know what that noise is.
It looks like it's obviously a burial chamber. We have definite human remains.
That none of us are afraid of the dark. Yet.
Every man for himself.
On this rock face are the mummies of Cocaine, and that's why we've come. I can't see them, but I can feel them.
If you see all this, I think everybody can understand why we do this.
3 years ago, if you'd asked me where I'd be today, I'd tell you I'd be stuck in an office doing something I didn't love.
I woke up, I could feel a polar bear pushing on my pen.
Nobody would need a coffee if you got woken up by a bear.
Yeah, that's the golden combination, really. Mixing exploration and science, the ability to reach millions of people. That's what you need to do.
Get your camera, let's go.
Welcome, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Good? All right, I probably don't even need the mic. I rarely do. And guys, it's such a small group. It's like we're all one club. I appreciate you coming out today. I am Susan Poulton. I'm the Vice President of Digital Media at National Geographic Society. And what we're here to talk about today is, the title is Citizen Science, and I'm about to explain to you why I hate that term and want to change the vocabulary around citizen science to a term called virtual exploration, which is something National Geographic is really, after 125 years of exploring the globe, we're really rethinking how we interact and engage with our audience and trying to not just have a passive relationship with them through the magazine, through all of our media, but actually bring them along on the explorations and the expeditions that we've been doing for all of these different years. So the tagline that we're moving forward with, is a new age of exploration, that we're actually beginning to embark on a complete rethink of what that means. We're going to continue to do all the things that you've seen in that video, still go out in the field. Field work is a necessary part of everything that all these guys that you're about to hear from do. But now you can participate and you can be part of it, and not just in sort of a track along with the expedition and read blogs and watch videos, but you're actually helping not just the science get done, but the exploration get done, and that moment of discovery. Okay, this guy doesn't really like me. So just before I dive into that, I'm going to give you a little bit about my background. So I have spent about the last 15 years trying to get people to do things online. That's what I specialize in all day long. I started out at 9 years at America Online, and then I've been fortunate enough to be with National Geographic for about 6.5 years. And I've tried to get people to attend live chats and take live polls and attend all-day music concerts online from all around the world. And getting people to do things online is really, really hard. Especially live and especially high engagement stuff. Getting you to look at a photo gallery is pretty easy. Or just, have a passive sort of, read a news article, or, even today, like post it or sharing it is pretty simple. But asking for a good bit of someone's time and commitment to actually sit and interact with an experience for a while is a pretty tough thing to do. But I love a challenge, so it's what I've pretty much spent my career doing. So it was really great that I got to bring that to National Geographic and actually start to figure out how to get all the stuff that I'm passionate about out to the world and get them interacting with it. Okay, let's see if this will go one slide. Yay! So as I said, National Geographic's changing the way we view our mission and exploration, and what that really means for us is a return to membership. So when you subscribed to the magazine, you used to be a member of the society. You would actually get a little membership certificate with your subscription, and you were officially a member of our society. It used to be very, very hard to be a member of the society. Back 100 years ago, you had to be nominated by somebody, and then you had to be voted in, and it was a very exclusive club. And then we opened the doors, and anyone who subscribed to the magazine was a member. Now we're throwing those doors wide open, and we're trying to re-engage our audience as not just television viewers or magazine subscribers, but members once again. So you're going to start to see over the next few years, I think I just got louder, over the next couple of years, National Geographic really putting that out there and having that call to membership. So the field, not only did membership in National Geographic used to be very inaccessible, but getting into the field used to be very inaccessible. It was only those guys who were jumping off cliffs or slogging through the jungle. And one of the things that these guys here and myself have been working with National Geographic and the leadership there, convincing them that one day our field might actually be entirely virtual. We might fund an expedition that only takes place in a virtual space and doesn't actually go anywhere. And that would be a pretty remarkable day when you actually have all of these collective explorers doing something in that space. One of the things that you're hearing about a lot online in the digital space, those of you who are familiar with it, is this idea of creating meaningful experiences, this idea that the internet has become sort of fragmented. No one's actually, we use this term, this buzzword, engagement. It's now the buzzword that everybody wants. Advertisers want it because they realize that looking at 200 cat videos really isn't all that special. And you're not actually staying with the content. And we've used an engagement metric for ages in the online world is how many photos you look at in a gallery. And it's like, is that really engagement? I mean, if you look at 25 photos, are you more engaged with that gallery than if you look at 5, or are you just 500% more bored than the person who came before you? And so we have these very inefficient ways of measuring how we're actually reaching individuals and how we're actually creating meaningful experiences online with them. And one of the missions of National Geographic is to, it used to be the diffusion of geographic knowledge. Now it's inspiring people to care about the planet. So we're changing our mission to a more meaningful mission, a more meaningful experience with those new members. That's been the tagline for a while. Coming up, it'll be to know the world is to change it. So we actually want to inspire that knowledge and then actually inspire action from it. And a lot of these experiences are giving people the platform on which to actually take that action, which is something we want to bring to the table. But I think creating an engaged experience online is incredibly hard, but it's one of the most rewarding things that you could ever do. Bringing some of you, if you were here for the presentation we did yesterday, we had Bob Ballard and Katie Croft from the Nautilus. One of their primary missions is to bring that moment of discovery to people. You can be watching live on that video when they come over a shipwreck, and you can be with them and be part of a group of people who haven't seen that wreck in over 2,000 years. And you're the first people to lay eyes on it just at the exact same moment that Bob Ballard lays eyes on it. And actually taking that with you. Or you could be part of a virtual expedition that does the same thing, and you're part of putting a puzzle together, or you're part of an actual find. And that's something that I'm really passionate about, and that's something that I want to see as many people as possible have that experience. So that's a really key thing, and what I want to talk about it, because you're about to hear from 3 folks who have worked on projects, and Patrick's about to work, we're getting into, he's new with us, about how we actually create these experiences. How do explorers and scientists come to us? Somebody just came to me. Is he here today? I don't think he's here today. Somebody came up to me afterward with a fabulous, fabulous crowdsourcing idea that we've actually been talking about since yesterday. So how do we actually get these ideas? How do we make the experience? How do we actually get people to use it? So motivational behaviors for that engagement. There could be You could be altruistically inclined. You could want to actually crowdfund something and help something, you know, an expedition. And maybe that's all your only participation is. You help it get funded, and then you're out. You could want to be part of a community, and you could be motivated by, you know, sharing or being part of the crowd is the reason why you want to participate. Gamification, so gaming, so it's actually a competitive thing where you're actually playing against other people is another motivational behavior. I happen to believe that with National Geographic, the motivation of coming along with us can be enough. Like, it can actually be a strong enough call to action to say, help us find shipwrecks, help us find Genghis Khan's tomb, you know, help us rewrite human history, help us rewrite the ancient Mayan history, can be enough. And we've actually seen a lot of success in that. Then when we put that call out to people, they want to help. And it's partially altruistic, but it's also just a sense of adventure within people that they actually want to have that experience with us. But the experience is essential. And this is something that where my expertise lies is in that interface and getting users to understand it and get used to it. And I have, and actually get in and use it. And I have a lot of strong feelings about how that gets done. There's a lot of citizen science these days, virtual exploration, that is done in game. So protein folding is a really popular game that you can go in and do called Fold It. But you're not actually learning all that much about protein, which may or may not be a good thing. You're just popping bubbles, and you're just folding paper, and you're just gamifying it, which is okay, and it gets science done. But that's almost more like distributed computing for me. It's like when SETI at home, you just load it on your machine, and your machine's downtime would do the work. That's essentially saying my downtime does your science, which is okay. But I want to challenge, as part of National Geographic's mission, to bring this knowledge to people. I just don't want them to skate over the top of it. I want them to take away something a lot more than that. I want them to learn something about archaeology, learn something about oceanography, learn something about that experience, because if they can learn it and be engaged in it, they are going to be the ultimate advocate for it. They will go out and they will tell the world that they've been part of this. They'll invite other people to participate in a knowledge-based, a learning. And a lot of people say learning, oh, it's education, it's kids, it's in the classroom. To hell with that. It's all of us. All adults want to learn. It's why we watch documentaries. If you're at all inclined to pick things up, read newspapers, whatever, you want to learn just as much as kids do. And I also detest that we take these experiences down to the levels of teachers and kids. And we just put it in the classroom. And then when you're about 15 or 16, we stop caring about whether you learn anything or not, or how you learn it. And it's like, no, I want everybody else. I want them all the way out till they're 85. So the experience is essential because they have to be able to understand it. They have to be able to find it meaningful. They have to be able to use it. And they have to be able to share it and to tell the world about it. And it has to fit in their day. And this is probably the biggest challenge that we have, is that a lot of virtual exploration products like the Zooniverse and the Galaxy Zoo products take you about a good half day to figure out how to use. Their training mechanisms are huge. There's a massive investment of time. And they have a pretty good user base. But they are user bases that have that time to give to that experience. So a lot of it's about knowing your audiences and tailoring stuff. You'll hear a lot about this in the Genographic project that Spencer Wells will present on, the back and forth that we have about niche audiences who know tons about genetic information and broad audiences who don't, and how do you make that experience feel holistic for all of those audiences. So a couple of the types of experiences, just really quickly, is we do map-based experiences. We're talking about, this could be anything from identifying, as you'll see from both Patrick and Albert's presentations, things from space we have a new explorer at Nat Geo, Sarah Parkak, who's doing archaeology using satellite imagery. They've just mapped the entire city of Tanis using satellite imagery. Video analysis. That's one that we've talked about using. When you saw Bob Ballard's recording 24/7 high-definition video of the ocean right now, who's looking at all of it? Maybe there's a way that we can crowdsource that video. Puzzles, and this one I'm just going to leave out there as a tantalizing, because we're working on an absolutely phenomenal project here that we're hoping to unveil next year. But just think about all of the fragments of things out there in the world that need to be put back together. And there's a lot of amazing projects around that, especially in archaeology. Identification, so you'll see like biodiversity, actually taking photos of things and doing sampling, having folks in the field using apps for that. Genographic is an example of a physical thing, where you actually take a DNA swab and mail it in, or you might do a water sample, water test. And expedition tracking, this is the more passive experience where you're actually coming along, but maybe you're determining things about the expedition, sending in questions, doing things like that. A couple of examples of projects we've worked on. Project NOAA is an app that we have where people actually go out and take pictures of biodiversity all over the world. They upload it, it tags it, and then experts come in. We have almost 22,000 tags in North America alone. Experts come in and tag it. This is a bit of a beta for us. We're still trying to figure out how this works, but right now this weekend we're doing what we do, a bio blitz, where we send volunteers for 24 hours into the field to capture all the biodiversity in a single region. They're in Estes National Park in Colorado this weekend, and they're using Project NOAA as the app that is fueling some of that. About to hear about both of these. Genghis Khan was sort of armchair archaeology, where we were looking at satellite imagery and crowdsourcing the results to have people find archaeological anomalies from space. Genographic project is a DNA analysis. A lot of the crowdsourcing is in the DNA. That's where having huge numbers of samples produces the results. But then we add to that the collection of modern ancestry information and ethnographic data from participants online after they've submitted their samples to continue to build that out. This is an example of mock-up that Albert's team did for me of what video analysis could look at frame by frame sampling, so you're just finding the cool stuff and trying to tag and identify it. So one of the other things that National Geographic is just starting to get into, and this is Patrick will speak next, and he's a really critical part of this team and this experience that we're doing, is that National Geographic has traditionally been about exploration and discovery and getting out in the field and finding new things. Well, there was a turning point about 5 or 6 years ago where the society realized, are we just going to cover the world and all of the issues surrounding it, or are we going to try to do something about it? And National Geographic's a nonprofit. We're not an advocacy organization, but it doesn't mean we can't provide platforms and tools for conservation programs. So we have the Big Cats Initiative, which is raising money to save big cats all over the world. And we're starting to now think about other ways that we can do this in a non-advocacy way, but more of an enabling way. And so one of the ideas that came out of that has not been built was sort of a virtual park ranger, this citizen conservation from the sky. So applying some of the techniques that we've learned with the Genghis Khan project to actually looking at human encroachment, because one of the things people were very good at finding from space is houses and humans, because it's really easy to spot. So we were like, well, maybe we can actually put that to work. And then a bunch of conservationists were like, well, I could really use that, because we're trying to monitor these huge areas, and we'd love to be able to actually do park monitoring from space. Just gonna do this. All right, so just very quickly, how do we do it? So this is really the fun part, and this is what I love doing, is getting the teams together to actually build these experiences, because it's one of the most fascinating dialogues that you can ever have in my job, I think, because it brings people from all different disciplines together to pull something off that's real. It's not just a piece of content that then gets archived and goes and lives somewhere else. You're actually going to potentially really impact the world by doing this. First thing we do is we set goals. And we all get together in a kickoff meeting, and probably the biggest example we've done with this when we rapid prototyped an experience is the one that Albert's going to present on the search for Genghis Khan, where we all get together and we say, okay, what are the scientists' goals? They would define success if this experience delivers data in X format that they can publish on that's this and this and this. Because if it's garbage in, it's garbage out. If we just make a really cool game that everybody plays, but it produces data that's either in the totally wrong format or the data's just total crap, it's not going to help anybody, and it's not going to. So you sort of start with, what are the scientists looking for? What do they need? And they're often the ones that bring the experiences to us. They're like, I've got this problem that I really want to solve, and I think I need a lot of people to solve it. Is there something there? So, and then the front-end team, I say, well, if this goes on the Today Show and 25 million people use it, I'll consider it a success. So I'm over here saying, if our dropout rate is very low and there's no customer service complaints that they don't understand it, That would be it. So I set sort of what my priorities are. And then the technology guys in the middle might say, I want to find some really cool way to use HTML5 that's never been done before. And we're like, okay, so we all put that down. Then we bring those 3 teams together, which is sort of the scientists, the conservationists, the NGO, and then the front-end user experience, distribution as well. That's key. You know, we went back and forth on this with Genghis Khan. How do we market that in a way that is okay and that puts it out in the world in a way that's not, was respectful to the Mongolian government, because the searching for Genghis Khan was kind of a big deal because it meant the end of the world. So how are we respectful with that? And then the technology team that brings it all together. And then we sort of all hash together and we define this experience. So we know what the science we need to get. We know and that's putting together that front end that people are actually going to get and use. And that can be, as Spencer and I have discovered, a 2-year process with Genographic. But it's worth it, because that's where you nail it. And that's where it lives, as I said, the experience is not, it doesn't just matter, it's essential. This lives or dies by whether people will use it. And most really amazing citizen science, virtual exploration, you name it, die at this phase. I have seen so many scientists, really well-meaning scientists, bring me experiences that I look at and go, no one on earth would ever play that game or ever use that, because I hate to break it to you, but scientists don't know everything about the internet. And it's important to bring those 2 experiences together and have that dialogue. But as you know, and this is the exchange that Spencer and I have had, the internet guys don't know the science. And so we've got to get educated to make sure that what we're doing is accurate and not misrepresenting it. And it's a fascinating dialogue, because we're in there with the scientists. I should not know what autosomes are, but I do. That's not my job, but I do. I probably should not know how ground penetrating radar works, but I do. And that's a really fun part of the back and forth, because both are learning about the importance of the other. But so many of them die because they're just like, I crowdsourced this project and I built a Pop-It game, and then it's just this terrible thing that they've tried to embed in Facebook, and it's just like, okay, if I could take that and spend some money to make it usable and really, then we could get somewhere. You build it, you release it. And the biggest thing is you measure your results. And so this is another place where people drop off. They put it out there, and if 10 people use it, they call it a success. Well, there's one big thing in crowdsourcing that a lot of people forget. You need a crowd. And to get a lot of people to do something, to get anybody to do anything online is hard. To get a lot of people to do it is exceptionally hard. It requires marketing, it requires release. Viral videos are not the norm. Like, unless the thing you're trying to crowdsource is the cat videos, it's probably not just going to go viral. And so there's this assumption that you can build it and people will just come to it. Or I'll just build it and I'll leave it there for a year and somebody will find it and make it amazing. Doesn't always work that way. So, let's see. I think that's my last slide. It is. All right. So what I want to do is part of this whole presentation was to give you a taste of 3 different explorers at National Geographic who are working on exactly these projects.